She can't text you first, but she's dying to. Here's why. No contact psychology. Old Stoic wisdom. Sometimes the one who leaves is the one who aches the most, but pride keeps their silence louder than any goodbye. Unknown. Why is it that the woman who left without warning, without explanation, still lingers in your digital world? She's watching your stories, maybe even liking your posts, but never a message, never a text. Why? Because deep down she's waiting for you to make the first move. She wants to know you still care without having to risk her pride to find out. But here's the paradox: the moment you truly stop reaching out, when you withdraw your attention and reclaim your silence, something starts to shift. What once was your torment becomes her tension. Every moment you don't chase, she feels it. She doesn't break the silence, not because she's over it, but because breaking it would expose that she never really was. She's caught in a war between pride and longing. She wants to know you're still there. But the moment she senses you're not, that your life didn't unravel without her, that's when the doubt sets in. That's when regret takes root. And you don't chase ghosts. You stand still like a mountain. You embody stoic strength, unmoved by fleeting validation, unwilling to beg for what walked away. This isn't about revenge. It's not a game. This is about you, about your rebirth as a man who no longer ties his worth to someone else's absence. Let her feel what you've already survived. Because she's not waiting for your text. She's waiting for proof that she still matters. And the most powerful answer, silence. This moment isn't about her coming back. It's about you coming back to yourself. 1. She pulled away to watch you chase. She didn't pull away because she was confused. Don't fall for that story. This wasn't a moment of emotional fog or some soul-searching retreat. No, this was calculated, measured, precise. She pulled away to watch you react because that's the test. That's the bait. She wanted to see if you chase not out of love, but out of need. Most men do. They panic the second the energy shifts. They start flinging texts into the void, apologizing for sins they didn't commit, offering flowers, dinners, promises, thinking if they just show her how much they care, she'll come back. But what they don't realize is she already got her answer. You cracked. You needed her. And the moment you did, she knew she had the power. Game over. Understand this: when a woman distances herself, it's often not to leave you, but to measure you. It's a move straight out of the emotional chess playbook. This isn't vulnerability. This is strategy. She's not asking, does he care? She's asking, will he fall apart? And if you do, if you become emotionally frantic, beg for clarity, demand answers, you lose the frame, the power, the respect. But here's where old Stoic wisdom separates men from boys. The Stoic man doesn't chase. He doesn't panic text. He doesn't throw a tantrum in her inbox. He doesn't bleed his emotions out hoping she'll suture the wound. He pauses. He observes. He owns his response. Because that's what an iron mind looks like in the face of emotional chaos: stillness. And that stillness, it's haunting. It's not silence, it's strength. She expected noise. She expected pleading. She expected the same emotional flailing she's used to. But instead, she gets the void. The disciplined silence of a man grounded in stoic principles who refuses to beg for what he didn't lose. That silence begins to gnaw at her. It whispers something louder than words ever could. Maybe he's already over me. Maybe I didn't matter as much as I thought. And suddenly the fear she tried to ignite in you sets fire to her instead. That's the shift. That's where you win. Not by playing pretend or acting cool with trembling hands, but by genuinely not needing to chase. By being so aligned with your self-worth that her emotional withdrawal feels like background noise, not a crisis. That's not detachment, that's power. That's the force of a man anchored in old Stoic wisdom, one who doesn't flinch just because the weather changes. And here's the beautiful twist: when she sees that her absence didn't shake you, when she realizes you didn't come running, she's the one who starts to spiral. Not because you played a game, but because you didn't. Be the man who doesn't explain his silence. Be the one who doesn't collapse under doubt. Be the storm she didn't see coming. That isn't cold, that's control. And in a world where emotional chaos is the default setting, your calm will terrify her. It'll haunt her, because deep down she'll know she miscalculated. She expected you to crumble, but instead you stood tall in that void, wrapped in Stoic principles, led by an iron mind, and carried the quiet confidence of a man who knows, if she really wanted to stay, she wouldn't have needed to test me, and that right there is the moment you become unforgettable. 2. Attention is the drug and you were her dealer. Because this part, it stings, but it also frees you. Your attention wasn't just kindness, it was currency, real value. The kind that buys you presence in someone's mind without you even being in the room. And whether she admitted it or not, she was hooked. Every good morning, beautiful. Every heart emoji, every like. Every time you paused your day to check in, validate, care, respond. You fed her something she didn't even know she was starving for. It was dopamine. A hit, a high. It made her feel seen, safe, chosen, like she was the only woman in the world. She didn't just feel liked, she felt worshipped. And you, my friend, were the priest of that altar. But here's the hard truth, she didn't respect the supply. Why? Because it was always there. Like air, like background music, like the faucet that always runs. You were steady, solid, a rock. At first that steadiness comforted her, but over time, it numbed her. She stopped hearing your words, not because they lost value, but because they became expected. Not earned, just received. And you became white noise. Not because you lacked power, but because you gave it too freely. Here's where the paths of wisdom come in. When the Stoics talked about value, they didn't just mean gold or land. They meant attention, energy, focus, all finite, all precious. And when you pour those things into someone who doesn't understand their weight, they start to believe they're worthless. So when you finally went quiet, really quiet, when the text stopped, when the likes vanished, when you disappeared like a man reclaiming himself, she noticed, not with her eyes, with her nervous system. That wasn't silence, that was withdrawal, because she was used to consuming you daily. And now the source has gone cold. That itch she feels, that curiosity, that creeping panic she's trying to disguise with selfies and cryptic posts. That's not coincidence, that's addiction. She'll start wondering what you're doing, who you're with, why your name hasn't popped up. She'll even imagine conversations you might be having without her. And guess what? You're not playing games. You're not being cruel. You're not ghosting her. You're rebalancing the scales. You're reminding her that your presence is not free. Your focus is not automatic. Your energy is earned, not demanded. That's not manipulation. That's practical stoicism. The same ancient wisdom that taught warriors to hold back, not lash out. To act with intention, not desperation. And here's the kicker. The less you give, the more valuable you become. That's not ego. That's scarcity effect, one of the oldest truths in both economics and love. She took you for granted because you were abundant. Now you're rare. And rarity that stirs desire. Not the shallow kind, the deep questioning kind. The kind that keeps her up at night wondering what changed and whether she lost something she didn't know she wanted to keep. She'll replay your old words. She'll study your silence like scripture. She'll scan her memories for answers that don't exist. Because, for the first time, she's not sure she still has access to you. And that my brother is power. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that doesn't chase. The kind that walks silently in the paths of wisdom, letting stoic rules do the speaking. Be the man who gives with heart but never forgets his own worth. Never again become someone's free and endless supply. Because your attention is the drug. And now, you're sober. If this message hit home like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stoic wisdom and modern mindset shifts. Comment to remember, my attention is earned, not given. Drop that in the comments to claim your value and remind yourself that silence can be power. 3. The art of strategic absence. When you're always available, you're no longer valuable. That's the iron rule. What once thrilled her becomes expected. What once stood out becomes background noise. The man who is always reaching out, always reassuring, always showing up, loses his impact. His words grow lighter. His presence gets taken for granted. But the man who steps back with intent, he becomes unforgettable. Epictetus taught that he who laughs at himself never runs out of things to laugh at. But a stoic man knows there is no laughter in chasing approval. Strategic absence is not cowardice. It is discipline. It is how you reclaim power in silence. You must understand this. Absence isn't weakness. Absence is leverage. It's the contrast that forces her to see what she lost. It's the void that shouts louder than any message you could send. You don't disappear because you're hurt. You disappear because you value yourself. You don't chase because she's cold, you step back because you're warm elsewhere. This isn't a tantrum. This is tactical. Don't beg, don't explain, don't argue. Let her sit in the silence. Let her feel the weight of your missing presence. She will. Epictetus reminds us we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgment about them. So judge wisely. You are not being cold, you are being calculated, you are not retreating, you are refining, you are not avoiding her, you are choosing you. That's Stoicism. That's how men win. Strategic absence is about clarity. Let your energy be expensive. She thought you'd always be there, that she could pull away, test your patience disappear, and you'd still be waiting with open arms. But you're not her safety net. You're not her backup plan. You're not another man hoping for crumbs. You're the man who invests with intention. And if she's no longer investing, then your energy is withdrawn with precision. You don't match her distance, you double it. She thought you'd chase. She assumed your attention was guaranteed. Now the silence proves otherwise. Now every hour without you grows louder. Did I go too far? Is he done? Why isn't he reaching out? That's the power of contrast. That's what she can't ignore. Let it burn. Let the silence teach her what your words no longer will. You've already spoken. Now you let the absence speak louder. Modern men must understand less is more. In a world of noise, quiet commands attention. In a culture of neediness, restraint is dominance. This is how you master modern life. This is how you win. And it's not just about her, it's about you. It's about proving to yourself that you don't need validation to hold your ground. It's about holding the frame. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't flinch, doesn't fold, doesn't chase. The kind of man who embodies stoicism. The kind of man who lives like Epictetus. Spoke first, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Don't text her. Don't check in. Don't explain. Let your absence echo. Let her remember the man she took for granted. Let her wonder where you went and if you're ever coming back. And if she returns, she must earn you. You're no longer the man who gives himself freely. You're the man she has to win back. That is how you reclaim control. That is how you rise. That is how Stoicism wins. 4. Emotions are traps to detach or be devoured. Don't let the silence fool you. She wants to reach out. She's thinking about you. Obsessing even. But she won't text first because she doesn't have to. You're doing all the heavy lifting with your emotions. That's the cruel brilliance of it. When you react emotionally, you give her the keys to your kingdom without her lifting a single finger. She knows this. That's why she pulled away. Not because she's heartless, but because deep down she knows it would cut you. She knows silence would stir the ache in your chest, trigger that desperate itch for answers, for closure, for any kind of relief. And the more it stings, the more power she holds. This is not a coincidence. It's a test. And most men, they fail miserably. You must understand this. Your emotions are not your friends in this moment. They're spies, traitors, saboteurs. Left unchecked, they will whisper lies in your ear. They'll tell you to reach out, to fix things, to do something. But that impulse that isn't strength, that's fear in disguise. That's your brain begging for comfort, even if it costs you your dignity. Every time you cave, you reinforce her superiority. You teach her without saying a word. You can walk away, and I'll still be here waiting. That message, it kills attraction faster than 1,000 arguments. Don't send it. Be smarter. This is where Old Stoic wisdom steps in. The Stoic man doesn't panic in silence. He doesn't chase chaos to feel alive. He knows that emotions are whether uncomfortable, but temporary. He doesn't suppress them. He studies them. He refuses to obey them. That is the iron mind. That is one of the timeless Stoic principles. Pain is a given, but reaction is a choice. Don't let emotion make your decisions. The moment you let it lead, logic dies. And when logic dies, so does your power, your value, your center. You must detach not to escape feeling, but to see clearly. Detachment isn't numbness. It's calmness in the eye of the storm. It's standing your ground while the winds scream around you. That kind of stillness, it's rare. It's magnetic. It's terrifying to a woman who expected you to fall apart. She was counting on your reaction. She needed it to confirm her power. But when she gets nothing but silence, when she watches you rise calmly instead of spiral desperately, she begins to question. She begins to wonder. And that wondering, that's where obsession begins. Stop reacting to her absence. Start commanding your presence. Don't seek closure from her, build it within. That shift rewrites the whole script. You are no longer the man begging to be chosen. You become the man she can't figure out anymore. The man she underestimated. The man with an iron mind, living by old Stoic wisdom, driven by Stoic principles. No longer bleeding for her attention. No longer offering your heart on a silver platter to someone who walked away. That kind of man is not just respected, he's remembered. And trust me, she'll feel that distance. She'll feel your silence like thunder. And the more she wonders if she ever really knew you, the deeper the question cuts. That's how power shifts. That's how mystery begins. And that's how a man wins without saying a word. And if you feel this truth deep in your gut, comment right now, "Detachment is my power." Like this video, subscribe for more unshakable wisdom, and remember, she doesn't control you. Your emotions do until you master them. 5. Your pain is her mirror. Don't misunderstand this moment. Your pain doesn't just sting you, it exposes her. It speaks louder than any text you could send, louder than begging, pleading, explaining. Because your pain, raw and visible, reflects back something she may not want to see. Power. Your suffering confirms she had emotional leverage, that she mattered more than she admitted, that she was significant, and that you, once solid and self-contained, suddenly felt fractured without her. That realization that power makes walking away feel like a win. It strokes her ego. It justifies the silence. It whispers to her, you were right to leave. Because if your peace crumbles in her absence, what does that say about your foundation? It says she was the foundation, and that is the first lie you must tear down. Here's the truth, brother, and it cuts deep. She didn't cause your collapse. She revealed it. She cracked open old wounds. Abandonment, doubt, insecurity, wounds that were already there, festering quietly under the surface. She didn't break you. You were already fractured. She just held up the mirror. And that mirror? It's painful, yes, but it's also priceless, because in it you don't just see her, you see yourself. Stop chasing her to stop your suffering. That's a fool's errand. Most men, they reach out. They plead. If she just texts back. If she'd just explain. If we could just talk. But even if she did, it would only soothe the surface. Because the bleeding isn't caused by her silence. It's caused by your attachment to needing her voice. She was never your medicine. She was your mirror. That's why reconnection doesn't bring peace. It brings addiction. Withdrawal relief, temporary high, but never healing. Enter the Stoic man. He sees things differently. He follows the Stoic rules, not because it sounds good in a book, but because he's lived enough to know pain is a signal, not a sentence. It points to where you gave up your power. It highlights what still owns your peace. And once you see it, you don't numb it. You use it. This is practical Stoicism, not theory, but fire-forged wisdom. You stop asking, why did she leave me? You start asking, why was I so dependent on her staying? That shift, that's everything. That's your liberation. Now the pain isn't about her anymore. It's about what you must rebuild. Your identity, your discipline, your self-worth. Not built on her texts, not built on her presence. Built on your foundation solid, still, and unshakable. This is one of the paths of wisdom. And something incredible happens when you stop projecting your pain onto her. She feels it. Not your suffering, your distance, your healing, your indifference. And that stings in a way that no love letter, no begging, no I miss you ever could. Because now she's staring into a version of you that no longer reflects her power, but her mistake. So what now? Don't reach out. Don't chase. Don't try to explain. Be still. Be sharp. Be rooted. Let your silence say what your words never could. Let your growth become your loudest message. Because once you stop needing her to feel whole, you become whole. And in that wholeness, you don't just win her respect. You win back yourself. That, my friend, is the real victory. That is practical Stoicism in motion. That is the beginning of walking the paths of wisdom. And she will feel it, even if she never says a word. 6. Women feel deeply but respond to power. Women are emotional creatures, yes, but don't confuse emotion for weakness. Women feel everything. but they don't move toward what hurts. They move toward what pulls them, what commands their attention, their respect, their curiosity. And that pull, that gravitational force that draws her back in, it isn't love, it's power. Your power. The truth is, she already knows how you feel. You showed it in every message, every call, every attempt to fix things. But now she's not looking for more emotion. She's watching for strength. She wants to know if you can stand alone, if you can sit in silence and not collapse, if you can walk away and not look back. Because that's what shakes her, not your feelings, but your restraint. This is where most men fail. They think vulnerability is the way back in. They think being open and real about their pain will win her over. But emotion without control doesn't attract. It repels. It signals instability, dependence, lack of center. She might pity you, but she won't desire you. And if there's no desire, there's no return. But when you shift from needing her back to mastering yourself, that's when she starts to feel again. Not for who you were, but for who you've become. She sees a man who no longer spirals, no longer begs, no longer dances for attention. A man who isn't cold, but who's solid, calm, centered. That's power. That's what makes her question her decision. Because now she's not looking at the man she left. She's staring at the man she never expected to rise. And here's the twist. When you no longer seek to prove your worth to her, she starts trying to reprove her value to you. She begins wondering where she stands, if she still holds a place, if your heart is still open, or if someone stronger, more aligned with your new energy has already taken her spot. That uncertainty, that quiet threat of replacement, it cuts through her ego like a blade. Because deep down, she knows a woman can't truly move on from a man who outgrew her silence. If you find today's content useful to you, don't forget to share your feelings and lessons with us. Or simply comment, "Very cool." It's a great encouragement for our channel makers. Thank you very much. 7. Your silence forces her reflection. Don't underestimate silence. It's not just a blank space, it's pressure packed into stillness. It's not absence, it's presence, heavy presence. When you stop calling, stop texting, stop reacting, you're not disappearing, you're disrupting. That sudden drop in attention, that's not neglect. That's strategy. That's old Stoic wisdom in motion. You're not ghosting her. You're inviting her into a mirror she's been dodging for months. Because now, without your validation on tap, without your reassurance, she's stuck with someone she's been hiding from herself. And make no mistake, the human mind, especially one fed by ego, doesn't like quiet. In that quiet, the voices come. Why hasn't he texted? Was I not enough? Has he really moved on? These aren't just questions, they're torments. They're doubts you once shielded her from just by being available. See, your attention was her painkiller. As long as you were chasing, she could coast. She didn't need to look in the rearview mirror. She could pretend she was in control. She could believe the story that she left a man who would always be waiting. But the story only works when you play your part. When you stop, that script shatters. Because now she's got no proof that you're still in her pocket. No texts, no double taps, no, hey, just checking in. Just a man who vanished into focus, into purpose, into self. That's silence. That's not punishment. That's power. That's Stoic principles being lived, not lectured. The days roll by. Her certainty begins to shake. Her ego pipes up. He's bluffing. He'll fold. But the silence doesn't blink. It just breathes. And in that breathing, she starts feeling something new. Not drama, not panic. Just a slow building regret that creeps in through restlessness. She'll fidget at night, scroll your old photos, wake from dreams she can't explain. You've become a ghost that haunts her, not because you're dead, but because you've grown. And that growth, that's the part she didn't plan for. You're no longer reacting to her. You're becoming something she can't reach. And that distance, it's not just silence, it's spiritual space. It's emotional altitude. It's the work of an iron mind. You're not ignoring her. You've transcended the need to respond. That's the difference. That's the threat. You didn't just go quiet, you evolved. But listen closely. You cannot fake this. Fake silence is just noise in disguise. If you're sitting by the phone waiting for her to cave first, she'll feel that. Women are intuitive. They smell desperation like cologne. Real silence only works when it's born from real detachment. That means you're not staging a performance, you're on a mission. You've turned inward. You're building, reading, lifting, creating. You've adopted old Stoic wisdom not as a tactic, but as a way of life. And while she's pacing in her emotional cage, wondering why the man who once adored her now walks past her memory like a stranger, you're not wondering anything. You're moving forward. You've embraced the void she left and made it your gym, your dojo, your forge. And as you become more you than you've ever been, she finally faces a question you no longer need to ask. Did I lose him? Or did he outgrow me? That's the iron mind at work. That's the medicine she never wanted to taste. And brother, it's bitter. But that's exactly why it works. 8. You become the mystery. Predictability is death to desire. Don't be the man she can read like a manual. Be the enigma she can't solve. When she knows your next move, your next word, your next emoji, your next apology, you've already lost. Control kills curiosity. And once she has control, she stops wondering, stops chasing, stops needing. But here's the hard truth most men never grasp. Women are not magnetized to certainty. They're pulled by mystery, drawn by the unknown. It's not a trick. It's not manipulation. It's ancient. It's psychological. It's power. And it's the path to stoicism win. When you go silent, you don't disappear, you ascend. You stop explaining. You stop justifying. You stop begging. And that silence, it's not passive. It's deliberate. It's strategic. It's a flex of masculine discipline grounded in the wisdom of Epictetus, who said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That's right. Vanish and let her imagination go to war with itself. You must understand this. When you remove your attention, you trigger hers. That's stoicism. That's control. That's how you win. No more texts, no more likes, no more crumbs. Just presence, stillness, focus. You go dark not out of pain, but out of purpose. You don't act emotionally. You act with intent. Let her scroll. Let her search. Let her wonder where you went and who you became. Because now you're not the man she knew. You're the man she never fully understood. You've become rare, scarce, valuable. You've become the mystery. And mystery doesn't beg. Mystery doesn't explain. Mystery stands tall and watches silently. Your silence should scream strength. Not weakness, not pettiness, strength. Epictetus also said freedom is the only worthy goal in life. That includes emotional freedom from seeking validation, from needing approval, from handing over your power. When you detach from the outcome, you regain command of the game. And in that game, the man who doesn't chase wins. The man who waits, watches, improves, wins. The man who masters himself wins. Let's make this clear. She will come looking. She'll check your stories. She'll tap your profile. She'll hunt for hints that you're broken. But all she'll find is distance, clarity, power, and that stings more than any speech you could give. You're not pretending to be high value. You are high value because you're building, growing, training, living with purpose. That's not a tactic. That's transformation. You're not hiding from her. You're hunting something bigger, a mission, a vision, a future that doesn't need her in it to be fulfilling. And when a man becomes a mystery, he becomes unforgettable, uncontrollable, undeniable. That's how you win. When she's outside the gate and you're not opening it, that's the reversal. She had you. Now she wants you, but can't read you, can't reach you, can't replace you. You must live so fully that your absence becomes louder than your presence ever was. Live with such intensity and direction that your silence becomes your voice. Stop broadcasting. Start building. Stop chasing. Start conquering. Be the man who vanishes, not to hide, but to rise. You're not retreating. You're refining. And that transformation, it's not for her, it's for you. That's stoicism. That's Epictetus. That's how real men win. Be still. Be strong. Be sharp. And remember, curiosity always leads to craving. And craving always leads to action. Let her act. You just be. If you made it this far, you understand something most men never will. Silence isn't weakness, it's power. The moment you stopped chasing and started evolving, you became the mystery she can't ignore. That's not manipulation. That's mastery. Comment below, I am the mystery that cannot be decoded. Let the world know you've stepped into your strength. 9. The comeback isn't chased, it's chosen. Don't chase the comeback. It's chosen. That's the Stoic path. That's how Epictetus would have lived. The comeback isn't a wish, it's a reward. And most men miss this truth because they're too busy waiting when they should be working. She can't text you first, not because she doesn't want to, but because instinctively she's watching. Watching to see if you'll sink or rise. No contact isn't a strategy to win her back. It's a declaration that you're winning yourself back. Stop thinking silence is a ticking clock. Silence is a forge, and you, man, are the steel inside it. The weak version of you, the one she left, he was available, needy, predictable. He mistook attention for affection. He gave away his power because he hadn't yet discovered it. But that version of you is gone, dead and buried. The man that rises from the silence is forged through stillness, moulded by clarity, sharpened by solitude. He doesn't beg, he doesn't chase, he doesn't wait. He builds, he becomes, he masters. This is what Stoicism looks like: self-respect over validation, purpose over distraction, stillness over reaction. She may return, she may knock, but now she doesn't meet the man she ghosted. She meets the man she never had the strength to hold. The one who doesn't fold under pressure. The one who speaks less and achieves more. The one who values peace like gold and doesn't trade it for temporary pleasure. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Well, the new you doesn't allow her back in because she cried or confessed. He lets her earn her place again, inch by inch. You are no longer available. You are no longer emotional. You are no longer the man who waited. You are the man who walked toward growth, toward strength, toward absolute sovereignty. And when she realizes it, that's when the power shifts. That's when the victory is sealed. You didn't go no contact for her. You did it to reconnect with your higher self. You did it to realign with the mission. You did it to win. That is what Epictetus taught: control, what you can, your actions, your discipline, your response. Let go of the rest. That's Stoicism. That's your new law. Let her wonder, let her regret. But don't let her interrupt your ascent. You must stay unmoved. You must stay unshaken. You must keep choosing you, because if she doesn't come back, good. You weren't waiting. You were evolving, and now you're too elevated to chase, too grounded to beg, too powerful to explain. If she returns, it's not a reunion. It's a reckoning. And if she doesn't, you've already won. That's the real comeback. That's what it means to master life. To rise not because she missed you, but because you remembered who the hell you are. Let her feel the silence. Let her taste the distance. But don't ever lose focus. Keep moving forward. Keep building the man she'll never again be worthy of. Epictetus would say, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Let them doubt. Let them walk. Let them leave. And in that void build a life so powerful, so peaceful, so purpose-driven that their return doesn't matter. Because you've already returned. To strength, to clarity, to identity. That is the comeback. That is the victory. That is the Stoicism win. 10. The Stoic blessing: letting go isn't weakness, it's power. Don't confuse letting go with giving up. It's not weakness, it's pure power. That's the old Stoic wisdom in motion, strength that's silent, unshakable, and unseen. Letting go is the final move in a game. She never knew she was playing. Not a tantrum, not a text, just a quiet, deliberate step back that echoes louder than any plea. You see when you truly let go, not just of her number, but of the narrative she once occupied in your life. You give her something more valuable than a second chance. You give her the gift of your absence. And that absence, it speaks volumes. Most men linger in limbo, dangling between denial and desperation. They say they've moved on, but they still flinch every time the phone buzzes. That's not Stoicism. That's emotional captivity disguised as dignity. A man with an iron mind doesn't wait for permission to heal. He heals anyway. He doesn't hover in her orbit hoping for a signal he launches into his own galaxy. That's Stoic principle. That's real masculine freedom. You must understand detachment isn't cold, it's clarity. True Stoic power means walking away, not because you're bitter, but because you're better. No anger, no passive-aggressive posts, no cryptic stories, just silence, just calm, just clean-cut distance. And that silence, that's the loudest chapter of all. Because if she's meant to return, she will, but only to a version of you that no longer bleeds approval or craves her attention. And if she doesn't, even better. You don't just survive, you rise. Letting go is the power move that flips the script. You're not waiting for closure. You are the closure. That is the Stoic blessing, the moment you stop orbiting the past and start moving forward with purpose, with peace, with progress. It's not a punishment. It's a release for both of you. You give her the freedom to go, and in return, you get the ultimate freedom, the right to evolve without her shadow. Don't chase what's no longer aligned. Don't beg for breadcrumbs. Be the man who knows that his peace isn't negotiable. Be the man who transforms heartbreak into horsepower. That's how the iron mind is forged, not in comfort, but in solitude, in stillness, in the silence you choose, instead of noise you crave. And that silence, make no mistake, becomes the fire that reshapes you. You came here looking for a reason why she won't text, why she disappeared, why her silence feels like a betrayal. But the answer isn't about her. It never was. Her exit wasn't your ending, it was your ignition. She pulled away, but you pulled yourself out of the emotional wreckage and rose higher. That's Stoic principles in action. You didn't fold under pressure. You didn't beg. You didn't become small just to keep her interested. You held the line, stood your ground, and became unshakable. You became the man she didn't believe could exist, the man who no longer needs her validation to feel whole. And if she returns, let her meet the man who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, doesn't even need to look twice. And if she doesn't, perfect. Because you'll be too far gone in your growth, too invested in your peace, too deeply rooted in your own evolution to care. You didn't lose her, you found you. And that, my friend, is the only win that counts. That's Stoicism. That's strength. That's the Stoic blessing, the sacred silence, the graceful release, the powerful rebirth. You let go. And in doing so, you didn't lose love, you became it. You became... All right, brother, if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. It means you're serious about growth, not games. Let me leave you with this. The reason she won't text first, it's not about pride. It's about the silent test, the test to see if you'll hold the line or fold. And the men who hold it, they aren't cold. They're clear. Clear on their value, clear on their direction. So if this message hits something real in you, don't let it stay a thought. Make it a movement. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. I don't chase, I evolve. This is Stoic Blessing, and your story, it's just beginning. See you in the next one.